friends. Welcome back to Crime Adjacent, the #1 true crime podcast in the world, thanks to you. Here's where things stand. On Saturday, September 28, 2024, realtor Allison Barnes was murdered at an open house in downtown Petoskey, Michigan. There was an incredibly tight timeline when the killer could have struck. According to Ring camera footage reviewed during the investigation, this window of opportunity for murder was between 1:45 p.m. when a neighbor left the open house and 2:31 p.m. when Allison's husband, Billy, arrived to check in with her. Well, backtrack here, I guess. To be precise, Billy Barnes was spotted on a neighbor's Ring doorbell camera walking to the house at 2:31 p.m. By the time he actually got to the house and entered, out of sight of the camera, about a minute had passed, so 2:32 p.m. I'm not trying to be nitpicky here. This timeline, it becomes important. Because this is a busy street near downtown. It was a well-advertised open house. People were coming and going. Someone could have entered at any moment. So how does a killer enter, strike, and get away unseen? Billy said that while he was walking, the house, the whole block of Clinton Street, just felt quiet. It wasn't busy at all. No people coming and going into the house. He could tell, he told Sheriff Press that day, that the closer he got to the open house, the more this creepy feeling inside of him began to grow, like he knew something was wrong. At the Clinton Street house, Billy said he called out at the front door, Allie, his wife's name, but he heard no reply. He wondered if she was in the backyard maybe, or upstairs showing off a new feature to a potential client. He took off his shoes as he knew Allie would have wanted. Then he crept down the hallway, making his way past the living room where cookies were spread out on a foyer table with reams of paperwork about the house. He called again. Allie, this time more hesitant. The house just felt off, he told Sheriff Press. Billy crept to the kitchen, where a big marble island took over the middle of the room. He peered beyond it, and that's when he saw his wife, laying on the ground, motionless. He told Sheriff Press that he saw her legs first and that he could just tell. He could tell something bad had happened. So why, then, did it take 5 whole minutes to call 911? That raised tiny alarm bells immediately. 5 minutes is a long time. Then, Press started talking to Allison's friends, and those tiny alarm bells, well, they became relentless, blaring sirens. Here's the story. But first, if you've been digging this show and want to share it so others can join in on the fun, reviews and likes definitely help. I appreciate you taking the time. From San Francisco, this is Crime Adjacent, the never-ending true crime story told weekly. I'm Chase Patrick. Allison Prescott, the neighbor and former babysitter who was the last person to see Allison Barnes alive, said she has been plagued by second thoughts since that day. The open house was slow. Allison was noticeably bummed. What if Prescott had simply hung out, stuck around? Would that have been enough to dissuade the killer? Prescott said, Allison was one of my favorite kids of all time. Just a bright, cheery, bubbly person with a little bit of gumption in her. You could just tell. It wasn't mischievous, more like wise. I don't know. You could tell she was going places. Prescott said she left the open house at 1:45 p.m. precisely. She checked her watch, hoping she could still make the town meeting a few blocks away. Billy Barnes wasn't seen walking on camera up the block until 2:31 p.m. So 45 minutes or so. That's how long the killer had to strike, which stood out to Swanson right away. Like I said in the previous episode, much of the evidence in this case is conflicting. It told different possible versions of events and made this case so challenging to close. For instance, in the cabin creepings, I still don't know what to call them because creeping seems too light for what happened, but that's what locals were still calling them at the time. The suspect in those cases had basically all night, plenty of time. There are suspicions that he could have been in those cabins for hours, watching women sleep before approaching. Aitana Ruiz thinks she heard him at 3 a.m. and then again at 5 a.m. before actually striking closer to 6 a.m. That's a long, long time. But here, Swanson explained in an interview, it was broad daylight. The risk factor was off the charts. Someone could have come at any moment, just walked through the open door and stopped everything or even helped capture the perpetrator. This just didn't add up. And further, wasn't it strange, Swanson wondered, that her own husband found her? Allison wasn't at home. She was at work, at an open house. Quite literally, anyone could have found her, should have found her. So why him? What were the odds? On the surface, it sounds like a sad story. He was elsewhere, at the town meeting. People saw him. They vouched for him. That's important. Then he decides to check on his wife. He walks in, excited, and then discovers his wife had been murdered. Swanson said she thought immediately, how long was he in the house, and why did it take him so long to call 911? Remember, Billy was spotted on video at 2:31 outside. He entered the house at 2:32. He sees his wife, dead, after just a few seconds of looking around. But he doesn't call 911 until 2:37 p.m., 5 whole minutes. Is that enough time to murder? Swanson said police and profilers are almost immediately suspicious of spouses, especially male spouses. That's just usually who's behind these crimes, she explained. So Billy Barnes was always going to come under fire, or at least harsh questioning, even with the tightest of alibis. But Billy Barnes' behavior that day, it stood out. It was, Sheriff Press said, exemplary. He acted exactly how a spouse of a recently murdered spouse should act, Press said. Or at least if there's no should here, at least how they're expected to act. For Swanson and Press, they are used to suspects trying their best to throw them off the track. Like, golly, it looks like she was first knocked out with a wooden butcher block and then strangled with a very specific cord. Who could have done this? Not me. Swanson said suspects aren't always that smart, and cops aren't always that dumb. Billy let Press search his person, their house, his phone, and all their messages, his business office even. Press said that even through his obvious grief, which felt real, he also felt all over the place. Sad, angry, helpful, worried, distraught, determined. He cooperated in every single way, and there was no evidence he was involved. And there was no evidence on his phone that he was having an affair or that she was having an affair. Press ended up getting a warrant for both of their phones just to be safe, and even a thorough forensic analysis turned up nothing. Billy was clean. Press talked to all his friends, his co-workers, to a person. They all said he was the nicest guy, wouldn't hurt a fly, that he loved Allison the moment they first met when they were younger teens. They were already a steady item in high school and then college and then into early adulthood. One of his friends, a single man named Todd who declined to give his last name, said Billy was like an example for their circle of guy friends for how to do it, for how to stay in a relationship. Todd said, if Billy was over at the open house, truly the only reason would be to cheer her on, see if she needed something. So, eventually, both Press and Swanson agreed. Billy was about as clean as they came. But the evidence at the crime scene just threw them for a loop. The knife case butcher block specifically, and then the mode of actual murder, strangulation. Both of these pieces of evidence just smacked of familiarity, of rage, and a crime of opportunity. Someone shows up to the house weaponless, with no murderous intent at all. Then, something happens. A fight, a revelation, something. And then there's this enormous wooden butcher block just sitting there. Allison turns. The killer picks up the heavy wooden block in a fit of blinding rage and brings it crashing down from behind. This is apparent. There is blood on the countertops. The butcher block corner collides with the back of her skull, sprays blood everywhere, and she stumbles into the space between the kitchen island and the counter sink. That's when the strangulation begins. She's not dead yet, but the killer sees it's too late. A bridge has been passed. She has to be finished off, and there can't be any witnesses. Swanson said strangulation would be more personal than a knife from the butcher block, perhaps portending that the killer knew the victim, that the killer was enraged and wanted her to know it. This version of events did not take shape for a long time. Because like I said, Billy had been cleared. There was no evidence other than perhaps a window of time when it was possible for him to have done this, alone in the house together for 5 minutes, but nothing at all pointed to him. Until press started talking to Allison's friends. Specifically, one friend who, like Todd, also declined to give her name. This friend confided, during her second interview with Swanson, that Allison and Billy's relationship wasn't as great as Billy let on. But the thing is, this friend said, Billy wasn't lying about this. He simply didn't know. From his point of view, things were, in fact, great. Which is probably why he raised no alarm bells for Swanson or press. He truly thought things were perfect, and it was obvious he was a stunned, saddened widower. This friend said it was Allison who was having trouble. They had met so young, Billy and Allison. She had never been in a relationship with anyone else. And one night, while she was at the office, she slipped. That's how this friend said Allison described it. And she didn't just slip once or twice, but many times. And not just with anyone, but with her boss, Bill Coffey, the head of the realty company. This friend said Allison was simply smitten. Bill was older than Allison, much older, like past 60. She was 24. But Bill Coffey was charming and powerful and friendly and successful. This friend said Allison confided that she couldn't stop thinking about him, even though she knew it was wrong and even though she knew exactly who Bill Coffey really was. Because the thing is, everyone knew Bill Coffey was somewhat of a player around town. Yes, he was still technically married to Eileen Coffey, his wife and business partner. They had built Coffey Realty into a powerhouse in Northern Lake Country. But they were also open. I guess that's what you'd call it. They were friendly and still married, but they lived apart from each other and just did their own thing. It was a town open secret that everyone really knew, but also no one talked about. People considered it weird at first, but both Eileen and Bill seemed fine with the arrangement, and soon everyone else did as well. Bill slept around. Eileen slept around. They both seemed happy. Allison never told Billy. This is according to her friend, who again wanted to remain out of this. But this friend, she thought it was important. Allison had just been murdered. Billy was in the crosshairs, and this friend knew some things. One, it wasn't Billy. No way. He loved her. And it wasn't Bill Coffey either. Again, he had an open relationship with Eileen, his wife. He fooled around a lot. With Allison, with others, with Allison's friend even. He was like a sure thing, but nice and handsome and just had a good vibe. Plus, Bill Coffey was at the town meeting when Allison was killed. Not just that, he was literally talking with Sheriff Press and Deputy Swanson outside when the radio chatter began about the 187. There is simply no way he left the meeting, headed to Clinton Street, murdered Allison, and then casually strolled back to the town meeting and started chatting up the sheriff. He wouldn't have had the time, and his demeanor after murdering someone would be off the charts. There'd be blood on his clothes everywhere. No way. I know what you're thinking. What about his wife, Eileen? Could she finally have had enough, got jealous, and killed a competitor for her husband's affection? Also most likely, no. She was at the meeting as well. In fact, she sat with Bill Coffey and chatted with the sheriff with him outside. And why not? They were married. They liked each other. They just didn't, do it anymore. So this friend, she swears it, Billy Barnes simply didn't know about the affair. No one else did, according to the friend. Allison slept with Bill Coffey a few times, many times, and then got super guilty and was thinking of telling her husband, or not, and just moving on with it. Sheriff Press is nearly 100% positive Allison didn't tell Billy at the open house, which might have been a rage-inducing moment. Because when Press asked Billy about the affair, Billy looked genuinely shocked and mortified and angry and sad. Press said, "I've seen people try to play act emotions, and Billy was not acting. I think he didn't know. It was like I pulled the rug out from under him, but I had to ask." In the end, she ruled Billy out, not just because of his alibi or his actions and emotions that day. The crime scene had all sorts of conflicting evidence, and none of it was hard enough to link Billy to the murder. But there was evidence, even if this too was conflicting, that the clown creeper had moved from Walloon Lake to the heart of downtown Petoskey. So, what was this evidence? Well, for starters, the rope, or the thread of the rope. Like I said, a forensic investigation uncovered a blue-white fiber on Allison's collarbone. This thread was from the same spool as the rope found at Ertz's cabin in Sugita's murder, and the spool's at Meeks' home, on the first floor of it anyway. And then there was the video, or fragment of a video. Press thinks it's the first time the clown creeper was caught on camera, but honestly, I've seen this video, and you sort of have to squint to see it. Well, here, let me tell you. Soon after arriving at the open house, Swanson slipped away to go knock on doors. She went to every single house in a 2-block radius for any video footage, hoping to find something, anything. That's how we know the kill window timeline of between 1:45 and 2:31 p.m. from the videos she collected. In that window, all the footage she could find revealed that no one else came or went. No cars, no bikes, no more visitors, nothing. But then, nearly 2 blocks away, Swanson saw something on the ring footage of a neighbor on East Mitchell Street, the same street where Jimmy Ball and Bill LaBoa lived. This house is practically within earshot of theirs, in fact. And this evidence, it feels like a stretch, to be honest. Like watching Bigfoot videos of the creature going into the woods. Is it real? Fake? A bear? I don't know. Press showed it to me. This video shows a fence, like the camera is aimed at a backyard from someone's house, and it shows their backyard with swings and a trampoline and a grassy lawn and this wooden fence. Well, just beyond this fence, for a fraction of a second, you can see what looks like, maybe, an arm or an elbow, maybe climbing over a neighbor's fence and then disappearing into the woods. And is that arm or elbow or whatever it is wearing a tan coat? It's possible. But then again, you never actually see a human form of any type, so it's unclear. It could be an arm. It also could be a cat, or a dog, a fox, who knows? But this is why Swanson likes it so much. The timestamp matches up to a murderer who left the house at 2:16 p.m., jumped a few backyards, and then was seen here on video a few houses away at 2:17 p.m. Is that the killer? We know he, or she, I guess, struck between when Allison Prescott left at 1:45 p.m. and then when Billy Barnes arrived at 2:31 p.m. So 2:17 right in the middle? It tracks. Press shrugged. This is the best we could find. And no, I can't say for certain it's him. But if it's the same rope, it's possible this is a tan coat. It would make logical sense. And if he kept disappearing into the woods in Walloon, well, he basically does the same here. Always on foot, always just quietly slipping away. So maybe it's a tan coat. Maybe it's not. It's definitely movement, and it could be a killer, given someone managed to slip in and out of the open house unseen by all the other cameras on the block. But is it the clown creeper? Press thinks one last bit of evidence confirms it. This house Allison was showing, it had new floors and new carpets. The owners were proud of them. It was the last thing, that tiny little detail that Allison hoped would make a buyer bite. Everything was new and pristine and gleaming, and Allison wanted to keep it that way. So that Saturday, she took her shoes off. Rothy's flats, her friend Samantha was sure of it, her favorites, they bonded over them. Samantha said if Allison had a big day, you could bet she'd be wearing her faux cheetah print gray flats. No doubt. Billy shrugged, saying he'd have to agree with Samantha. He didn't know, or even notice. Prescott, the former babysitter, also remembers seeing them at the house, these flats, They were noticeable because they were really nice. Allison had taken them off and put them by the front door as an example, with a big, noticeable sign announcing that visitors had to take off their own shoes. And those shoes, those gray flats, when Press and Swanson arrived at the house, they were gone, like nowhere at all to be found in the entire house. So add it all up, and the evidence was all over the place. This was Petoskey, not the lake. This was broad daylight with a tight timeline, not the middle of the night when the creeper had endless time. But there was the same rope, the missing shoes, the possible tan coat if you believe the video, and also no noise at all. The killer simply vanished into the woods. Press was sure of it. She said, "This is the same guy. I know it." What she didn't know, or couldn't know at the time, was that if this was indeed the clown creeper, he didn't go back to the lake or hide in any empty houses. He slipped through backyard after backyard, wooded lot after wooded lot, and would strike again that very afternoon, just blocks away, at another open house. But this time, the realtor would survive to tell what happened. Next time on Crime Adjacent. Ebony Astor left the town meeting at 2:15 p.m. She was running late. She wanted to check in on Allison Barnes to see how it was going. In the realty office of Bill and Eileen Coffey, Ebony appointed herself Allison's mentor. But it was a busy day for everybody. She had her own showing over on Lake Street, and she feared she wouldn't have enough time to start the open house, which was from 3 to 5 p.m. that day. She had no idea, as she hustled over to prepare the house, just who was waiting for her inside. Hey friends, I'll be speaking on a panel about podcasting and writing at the Left Coast Crime Conference in San Francisco at the end of February. If you're there, make sure you stop by to say hello. I'd love to meet up. From San Francisco, this is Chase Patrick with a reminder, it's not crime, it's crime adjacent.